The morning air hung heavy over the small stone village, its streets still glistening from last night's rain. In the center of the square stood an old statue of Jesus, weathered by time, yet full of quiet grace. Locals often passed by on their way to the market or church, offering brief prayers or soft smiles before continuing their day. But that morning, something was different. A small puppy, drenched and trembling, stood at the foot of the statue. Its fur clung to its frail body, and its eyes, wide and pleading, never left the face of Jesus. Slowly, the little dog rose on its hind legs, pressing its tiny paws together as if in prayer. People stopped. Some whispered, some took out their phones, others simply stared. No one could understand what they were seeing, but everyone felt something stir deep inside their hearts. Day after day, the little puppy returned to the same spot. Rain or shine, he stood before the statue of Jesus, his tiny paws lifted, his gaze fixed upward as if waiting for an answer. The villagers began to take notice. Shopkeepers paused mid-task, children watched in silence, and even the priest stood at a distance, unsure what to make of it. Some said the dog had been trained. Others believed it was hungry and confused. But as the days passed, one thing became clear: the puppy wasn't begging for food. He ignored scraps left near his feet, never barking or running away. Instead, he sat still, eyes full of sorrow and longing. Each evening, when the church bells rang, he would lower his head, whimper softly, and disappear down the cobblestone street, only to return again the next morning, faithfully kneeling before the statue as if keeping a sacred promise. Among the villagers who watched, the puppy's strange ritual was an elderly widow named Maria. She lived alone in a small stone house at the edge of the village, her days quiet and heavy with memories. Years ago, she had lost her only son in a tragic accident, a loss that had silenced her laughter and left her heart hollow. Each morning, Maria would visit the statue of Jesus to pray for strength. One chilly dawn, as she knelt to whisper her prayers, the puppy appeared beside her. He didn't bark or move. He simply sat close, mirroring her stillness. From that day on, he followed her to the square, waiting patiently until she finished praying. Touched by his loyalty, Maria began calling him Angel. She fed him, spoke softly to him, and for the first time in years, she felt warmth return to her soul, like a small light rekindled by faith. One evening, dark clouds rolled over the village, and a cold rain began to fall. The streets emptied as lightning flickered across the sky. But one small figure was still out there: Angel, sitting faithfully before the statue, shivering but unmoving. Maria hadn't come that day. For the first time, she had missed her prayer. Something in the puppy stirred. He whimpered, looked toward the narrow lane leading to Maria's house, then bolted into the storm. The rain poured harder, soaking his golden fur as he ran through puddles, barking frantically. His cries echoed through the night, drawing the attention of neighbors who followed his desperate sounds. When they reached Maria's door, they found it slightly open. Inside, she lay motionless on the floor, her breathing shallow. Panic swept the room. Someone called for help while the puppy pawed at her hand, whining softly. Minutes later, paramedics arrived. The doctor shook his head in disbelief. She was minutes away from death. They rushed her to the hospital. Without that little dog's insistence, she would not have survived the night. The next morning, word spread quickly through the village. The little dog had saved Maria's life. Neighbors couldn't stop talking about how he had run through the storm, leading them straight to her door. Someone had recorded parts of it on their phone, the drenched puppy barking before the statue, then racing off into the rain. Within hours, the video appeared online. The caption read, "The puppy who prayed for his human." It captured hearts instantly. Thousands of comments flooded in, some calling it a miracle, others saying it was proof that love knows no boundaries. News stations picked up the story, showing the image of the tiny dog kneeling before the statue of Jesus. Churches shared it during Sunday services. People all over the world wept, prayed, and sent messages of hope. A small act of faith from a stray had turned into a global reminder of compassion. Days passed, and Maria slowly regained her strength in the hospital. Through the window, she could see the church steeple in the distance and often asked the nurses about Angel. The villagers had taken turns caring for him, and every morning, he waited outside the hospital gates. his eyes fixed on the door, just as he had once waited by the statue. When Maria was finally well enough to speak, she shared something that left everyone speechless. She said that on the night her son had died years ago, she had knelt before the same statue of Jesus and whispered a prayer. "If I cannot hold him again, send me something to remind me he's still near." Tears filled her eyes as she looked at a photo of Angel sitting in the ring. "He came to me on the same day, at the same hour. My son passed away," she whispered. Maybe he wasn't just a dog. Maybe he was an answer. Doctors, nurses, and reporters who heard her story couldn't explain it. But deep down, everyone felt it. Some miracles don't need proof, only belief. That Maria's story spread far beyond the village. News outlets from different countries shared the image of the praying puppy beside the statue, calling it the miracle of the little angel. Messages poured in from across the world, people thanking the widow for restoring their faith and kindness, love, and God. Visitors began traveling to the small village, leaving flowers, candles, and dog treats by the statue. Even those who didn't believe in miracles found themselves moved by the story. In a world so often divided, one small dog had somehow reminded humanity of the simplest truth: love never dies. Months later, Maria returned home, frail but smiling. Every morning, she and Angel walked together to the statue of Jesus. The puppy, now stronger and healthy, still bowed his head each time they arrived, as if remembering the prayer that brought them together. The villagers often paused to watch, some whispering prayers of their own. Maria would simply smile and whisper, "Faith listens, even when we think no one hears." The story of the praying puppy became more than just a miracle. It became a reminder that love, in its purest form, always finds its way back, even through the smallest of souls. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who believes in hope and miracles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story that reminds us of the power of faith, love, and the unexpected angels that walk among us.